Chief Design Officer over here at Nested Knowledge. And I have the pleasure today of welcoming Jody Filkowski over at Medlior. And the topic today is AI literature reviews. It's a really interesting topic. Jody has done a lot of really interesting work in this space using the Nested Knowledge tool, and I want to ask her about that today. So Jody, do you want to just introduce yourself, introduce Medlior, tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So as you mentioned, my name is Jody Filkowski. I'm a research lead here at Medlior. I focus predominantly on the evidence synthesis in the HTA projects. However, as a company, we also work a lot in the RWE space. We're actually quite known for the RWE space. We're a 100% Canadian-based company, but we work internationally with clients around the world.
Excellent. Okay. So you've sort of in our conversations with you over the past couple months here, you were one of probably the first people to even identify this use case for the Nested Knowledge software. Hey, we could maybe do a quick and dirty review. Something that's not we're not going to call it a systematic review. We're going to call this an AI review. But obviously, it is not, and it never will be. Push button, get review. That's not really how science works, right? So tell us a little bit, let's talk about AI reviews. What is your definition of an AI review?
So the product I'm going to speak about today, we've actually given it a proper noun. It's called Rapid Insights, is exactly as you described. It's an AI facilitated review. It's not push button. We're not totally eliminating the human element. In fact, there's still a lot of human interaction with the client, but as well as in conducting the lit review. It is, as a lit review product, focused on what's out there, what's already in the public domain. So we're not generating anything new as far as evidence. What we do want to offer is that quick and dirty product. So it's not a systematic review. It's not a traditional product. It's not even a step down version so much of that. It's something completely different. So when we're doing some market intelligence and understanding with our clients, mostly it started with why can't I get my foot in the door with you? How come it's so difficult for me to get these ES projects with you? It turns out they're slow, they're cumbersome, and they're expensive. They're offensive to a number of budgets. So I wanted to develop a product that almost acts like a wedge product that gets me in the door. I want to do it quick. I want to do it cheaply. And I want to build that relationship with you, the client, and make sure that I'm addressing your needs. So what we found is that there's actually a need for these rapid, brief scoping reviews. They tend to fall off the side of the desk because they have a high opportunity cost for the client, but they're necessary. And they don't need that level of rigor. They don't need the comprehensiveness, and they're never going to generate something that's a publication value. They're really just for decision-making, guiding, planning within that development pipeline. So what I've done here is I've tried to harness your tool, the Nested Knowledge platform, to be able to generate these.
Okay, cool. So it's in the name. You've given a proper noun, rapid, but how much faster really is it, right? So I think that's kind of probably one of the key considerations, because speed is somewhat synonymous with cost. Obviously, you're trying to bring costs down for a product like this, and a service like this when you're offering it. So how much speed are we talking about here?
So the way I've worked out the process, once we get past the initial phases, which is identifying what your research questioning is and determining that it's suitable for this product, we want to turn these around in 5 days.
Okay.
So,
wow.
Yeah. Now, for me to provide direct comparisons of what it would be to a systematic lit review or say a rapid or a longer scoping review, they're not really directly comparable. Like I said, they're different.
That would be inappropriate. Yeah. Got it.
So to do that, what I've done is I've completely stripped out that protocol phase. We're not going to get fancy about the methodology, about what we're doing. We keep the search strings as simple as can be. We have no formal reporting off the backside. And by getting rid of those big pieces and all the reviews and all the thinking that is involved in executing those, we've really pared it down to the bare necessities or the bare definition of what a lit review is. Here's my search. Here's my pile of citations. Here's what I'm looking for. Go find it and give me some brief synopsis at the end. So 5-day turnaround.
Got it. Okay. Before we get any further into this conversation, I just want to let everyone know who's watching this webinar today. this is interactive. You can ask questions. We'll attempt to answer them. I'll surface those questions to Jody as you ask them, whether you're watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, etc. today. Just type your question into the chat, and I will get to it. Of course, if you're watching after the fact and you're just joining us after we've gone live, you can always email Jody. And I've thrown a QR code up on the screen so you can scan that with your smartphone, but it's Jody Filkowski at medlior.com. And you can just email her your questions or your inquiries about this project type. And I'm sure she'd be happy to answer them. So because this isn't truly a systematic review, like that comparison is just, it's out of scope. It's inappropriate, right? When is an AI review useful? When is an AI review the right call for your client?
So as I mentioned, we designed this to be a brief, rapid scoping review. So anytime you need a high level assessment of what's out there, this is appropriate. So in a way, it's a type of a landscape assessment. It's hard to, I mean, I can't limit the exact types of questions that it's useful for versus not useful for. That's something we really need to do on a case-by-case basis. The questions need to be simple. They need to be not so much phishing type questions, but a bit or in that survey type range. So for example, if you're looking for, I just got some examples here, that ones that we've done just as trials.
Sure, yeah.
In pre-trial design, for example, if let's say you want to determine different instruments or metrics that are utilized in trials, an example of a question that might be suitable is something like, how is hemostatic efficiency measured in hemophilia trials? So that would be an instance of maybe early on in study design, and you're not even sure the most appropriate way to measure your product relative to what your comparators are doing out there in that trial space. So we do a quick glit review. We pull the citations that are relevant. We hand them off to you, and you do what you want with that. You can make decisions on it. You can use it to guide your future research. That's your end case is really your end case. Besides that, we could also use it for landscape assessment. Here's an example of a good one. So I've got when indications are currently the subject of gene editing trials. So maybe you just want to understand where the technology is developing gene editing therapies or treatments. What are the types of disease areas that there's a role for in those? And that might be something, again, very, very early on in your development. Should we go down this road? Is this something that there's a need for in this disease area? A third one can also be, say, much later, even if you're talking about the market side. So say the back side of that pipeline, where we're looking at informing study design. What algorithms might be used to distinguish between type 1 and type 2 diabetes and administration data sets? So, for example, you want to do some post-marketing work, or you want those RWE type studies, and you need to understand how you can define, in that example, how you might want to define your cohort or your population. What has someone else done? What's a validated algorithm? We need to do this quick survey. So these are the types of use, just example questions that I've given. But like I said, there's really no limit on how a client might want to use these. We work in the health sector. Our clients are predominantly from the pharma industry. However, we've discussed trying to peddle this over in maybe the vent cap industry and other types of non-research based companies that might want to get a quick handle on what's happening in the research world, for example. So it's not even so much that we're trying to pigeonhole ourselves with this particular client base or industry. We actually do see a very wide utility. And again, our market intelligence has suggested that this is something that clients need and would be interested in.
Totally. Okay. So what's interesting to me about this, I'm trying to step into the shoes of your client here, right? And trying to imagine what this process is like to come to you and say, okay, I think I have a use case. I think I have something where I need a rapid answer to this question. It doesn't have to be comprehensive necessarily, but I need it in 5 days, right? So what can you do for me? What would be, just thinking about study design here, because as we mentioned, it's not push button, get review, right? So I have to provide a little bit to you. There's some information I need to kind of walk through. What does that look like? What does that process look like? What's the bare minimum input you would need from me as a client if I'm looking for a survey on gene therapies, right? What would that look like in terms of what I need to provide to you to get one of these done?
So we've stripped out a lot of the common things that happen in proper rigorous science. One things we cannot escape, and we don't want to escape, is that research question and PICO's criteria. So
Yep.
when you come to me, you need to have some idea of what you want, and we need to start to be able to populate a standard PICO's table.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly what are we looking for? What are the outcomes, population, any restrictions? Maybe there's date or geographical restrictions, things like that. With respect to the research question, these have to be simple. If they're more
Mm-hmm.
complex, it's just not going to work. This is not a suitable product for that.
Sure.
So come to me with an idea of what you want to do, a research question, something, a table, or at least the elements that we can populate that PICO's table with is absolutely necessary. That being said, even if you haven't come that far or got that far, come to me, because that's
Yeah.
where we really do want to work with you. Like, I don't want to produce something that is useless for you. And
Yeah. Right.
the chances or the risk of that happening grows exponentially the more I minimize communication off the top. So when
Right.
you come to us, we will work with clients to make sure we develop a question that's suitable, to make sure that we're able to populate the PICO's table to a level that we can then enact or action. The other thing is there are some limitations. Again, speaking about the simplicity of that question, and none of these are etched in stone hard, so there's some flexibility around them. But we want to design questions that capture no more than, say, 500 citations off the top. So
Okay. Yeah.
that title abstract review,
That was my next question. Yeah.
Yeah. Once we get through our sort of rapid or our AI assisted screening type process, we'd ideally like to not have any more than, say, 15 full text captures. And we don't really want to be pulling out any more than, say, 10 data elements. Now, that being said, those aren't hard numbers. So if something happens a little bit more, or let's say
be flexible.
Yeah, you need far fewer, than you only need 5 data elements, and we can bump up the full text. The other caveat with that is the way it's designed right now, we're only doing this with freely available full text, just because legal issues. However, many of our clients are large pharma and they have fantastic libraries. If you're able to source full text that are behind paywalls through your own position, your own company, that's fine. We can migrate them in and use them as well. But the key is keeping it simple and keeping it contained.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense to me. I'm thinking about the limitations, the known limitations of our own product. Like, taking off my client hat now, and thinking from our product perspective, that there are certain things that just make a lot of sense in what you just said, which is why we have you on our super user, webinar here, because I'm thinking about how cumbersome it can be to process that much information that quickly, right? So when you first come into our platform, you're trying to conduct a search. You don't want to pull in a ton of records, because you got to screen them. Even if you're going to have a robot, you're just going to kind of like bulk apply a bunch of our algorithmically decided screening determinations. You still want to kind of limit that, because then there's the next step, and you have to extract those data elements. So limiting those data elements to just the key kind of concepts you want to extract to 10, that makes sense to me. You're going to have a higher rate of success there, because you're just kind of focusing on the question that matters the most. What are some other kind of key considerations? And I have other questions about just kind of study design in general, but what are some key considerations that you kind of think about when you're designing an AI review? Like, if I come to you with a research question and it needs to be fleshed out a bit more, what kinds of questions are you going to ask me?
Well, like I said, the initial questions are coming right down to that PICOS. Like, let's make sure that we both understand what you want. So my questions are going to be highly customized to what you want, and getting that table developed. Keeping that, I can't say it enough times, keeping that question simple is really key. So there will be some discussions around how can we either simplify a question you have or split it into multiples. Like, if you do have a complex question, you can always break, even just from an English language perspective, you can break those into more simple, fewer questions, or more questions that are shorter but more simple. So it may be an instance where we need to do 2 or 3 of these to get everything that you want. Worst case scenario, like I said, this is a particular product. It has a particular place in life, but it doesn't solve all questions or all issues or all problems. We have the full suite of other products, and we might need to step up to those if there's something you want that this just doesn't meet. So I wouldn't want to discourage anyone from coming because they're not sure if this is appropriate or not, make sure you come and
Right.
talk to us. But like I said, it's difficult for me to give you, I don't want to make this a list, a tick box list of you have to have these things before it's useful, because there is so much customizability, and we are willing to work with clients to try to get it to a point where it's useful. And if it's just not, identify it that way, and then, hand off to a different product that would help them.
Sure. So like when you're developing an AI review, is your eye always sort of going to, like, are you just saying, okay, this is going to be a standalone thing? We're just gonna have a rapid review, or can these sort of be expanded after the fact? Can you come in and update the review after the fact? Can you come in and can you say, look, hey, actually, it was rapid. Now we want to make it systematic. Does that question even make sense?
Uh, no.
Okay.
And
Okay.
like, so it comes down to that. It's just a different product. It's not a traditional review. So as far as updating it, I mean, in theory, updating would just be like running another one. So if you wanted to run it again, let's say something ridiculous. Let's say you're doing something that's on the absolute bleeding edge of technology, and 3 months from now, there's going to be another 500 citations to look at. If it's just rerunning it, it's just another order. We've already hammered out the upfront necessities. We can rerun it. If it's something that you wanted to tinker with and change, I mean, we can work with the client. We need to add in a little bit more if that makes sense and it's feasible to do that. So as far as updating, yes, of course, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis in whether that makes sense to do or not. Upgrading, I don't see a lot of use to this, or a lot of, it wouldn't be smart to upgrade it. We got rid of the protocol, so we don't have such methodological rigor up front. We made a very simple search string. To upgrade it, you'd have to go back and revisit those things, which now moves it squarely into a different product. It's kind of like you don't upgrade your Big Mac to a filet at the McDonald's. Like, you just wouldn't even consider doing that.
Doesn't happen.
However, the product, the Rapid Insights, its product might very well be like a gateway to something that you want to do. Maybe it's a bit of a feasibility exercise to determine whether you need a full SLR or whether it even makes sense to be an SLR. So in that analogy, it's like you have a Big Mac for lunch, which holds you over because you're having filet for supper. Totally different meals, totally different sustenance, but they kind of solve two similar problems. So yeah, as far as the upgrade, it's not designed for that. However, it is designed for quick, informative, and it gives us an opportunity to work with you on the methodology and maybe design other studies and other experiments that might make sense for whatever your longer term goals are.
Totally fair. That makes a ton of sense to me. Okay, cool. So when you are designing this product, obviously you're using the Nested Knowledge platform. Can you talk a little bit about what kind of your favorite features are of Nested Knowledge? Like what helps you the most in your day-to-day when you're going, okay, I've got a client, they want a rapid review. What do we do?
So right now, and this isn't a rapid review, but it's kind of coming from another project that we're doing right now. I'm also using the Nested Knowledge a little bit off-label because it's not a proper systematic review in the traditional sense. But right now, it's the tagging to tables. It's just proven incredibly efficient for that particular project and how we want to be migrating and amalgamating the data that's coming from the particular documents that we are reviewing. So that's right now making my life easier. So that's my favorite at this point in time. And then that leads right into what would I like you to see work on next?
Yeah, sure. Fair enough. Yep.
It would be great if I could take my tabulated tags and throw them directly into that meta-analyses, because right now it doesn't transfer into that module so nicely. So it's a little bit like a copy and paste or full on, re-extraction exercise. In the context of this Rapid Insight, and I'm not sure how familiar your listeners are, but there is that module where we can perform simple meta-analyses. So again, if you have questions that have some sort of quantitative element to them, don't shy away, come and speak to me, because we have successfully used that for this type of Rapid Insights. So that sort of lack of transferability right now does reduce my efficiency on those types of questions.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's totally fair. Just to kind of like tell you kind of a little bit, both you, Jody, and our viewers today, what we're kind of working on. With all the things you mentioned are kind of things that we know are really important to our customers. So like the table piece, The really tricky part about flexible tables is that then they're not super amenable to being translated into data elements with kind of the hard coded other parameters that are associated with a tag that gets transformed into a data element. But that is still something that we're thinking a lot about. So first of all, is there a way, in our software, using some of the tricks we picked up when we built qualitative, AI based extraction, to fill in tables automatically? Is there a way to transform text from a PDF into data elements after the fact? That could probably help you to answer some more complicated types of questions for your audience, right? Or for your clients, I should say, our audience today. Yeah, and then other things that we're working on in terms of maybe helping you with this is more immediately in the next quarter or so, we're launching we're calling them core smart tags. I don't know if that's actually the marketing term we'll use in the end, but we'd like to add some smaller models that run all the time in the background to pull out things a little bit more reliably, things that aren't necessarily reported in databases. So like smart study design is going to be a tag that you can just apply automatically to pull out, like, okay, is this an RCT, right? Things like that. We want to do some interesting work with geography. So to say, okay, hey, as a tag option, can we pull out geography for this study? Did it take place in Europe? Did it take place in Germany? Whatever. So we're working on some smaller models that will help you with this. But ultimately, it's nothing is going to get you to push button do review. That's not good science, right? Even if you are stripping out some of the hallmarks of good science, like making a protocol and saying this is a rapid review product. Yeah, okay, that's very interesting. I always love to hear feedback because I'm like, okay, how can I make this product better for Jody, but also for Jody's customers? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the key consumer of this literature at the end of the day. Anything else you'd like to see us work on next?
Actually, I was going to say the upgrades you're mentioning, and I have heard rumors that these were coming.
Yeah.
I invite them and I look forward to them because it's oddly enough, it's those most simple, like you think would be the most simple elements that kind of consume more of our time. Like, why can't it just tell me it's a cross-sectional? I see cross-sectional right there, but I have to actually go and manually pull that out of there. Yeah, I heard that you're going to be using some different language models to try to not simplify, but I guess be more successful with those super simple type variables and those data elements. And I look forward to that. I invite it. Good.
Yeah. Okay. So another way to ask this question, Jody, what you mentioned quantitative extractions, right? That's going to be difficult to answer in a rapid review for obvious reasons, both our product limitations and also just the complexity of those types of questions. What are some other questions that would be like, just too difficult to answer, so that we can go out and build that for you? It's really my question,
Well, the quantitative, it's not that they're difficult. We can do it. It's just I lose efficiency because I'm actually
now it's a systematic review, right? Now you're doing this the proper way. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that it's systematic. It's just that I have to go and do that twice. Like if I want to pull out, let's say we have our question is, what are the typical ranges that we see in this validated instrument for whatever the disease is? Those are all numbers. They're all coming out. They're coming out from several trials, several citations, and I want to do a meta-analysis of that. It would be nice if I could do it in a tagging module with my tables, and then those values get thrown right into the tables that need to be formed for the extraction. And there's just that little gap where it doesn't translate, or we can't transfer it simply. So I just have to spend the extra time getting them into those the extraction, the tables where the meta-analysis will be run. So it's not that we can't do it. Again, don't run away because you have a quantitative question. It's just, it's not even a design flaw. It's just a simple limitation of the instrument and the platform right now. But I fully appreciate that it's constantly evolving and you're building it and making it better all the time. So this won't get worse with time. This will get better.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. If we do our jobs right, then it will get better. Very cool. Okay. So if you want to get a hold of Jody, I'm going to throw her email back up on the screen here today. Just email Jody. You can scan that QR code with your smartphone. Again, that's Jody Filkowski at medlior.com. And this, if you just want to visit her website and kind of get a sense of what other products that Medlior offers, as well as the rapid review product, you can visit their website by scanning that QR code as well. That's www.medlior.com. Check them out. Yeah, Jody, any parting words here before
Yeah,
we call
I
it?
see a question here, and actually, I should have addressed this.
Oh,
What does
sure.
the
Yeah,
AI
yeah, yeah.
review? What does the deliverable look like? So,
Yeah.
um,
Okay. Yeah. Let's
again,
get into it.
market intelligence. I thought we were going to do these quick little reports that look like posters and send them out as PDFs or Words or whatever. Turns out, clients really like your synthesis module. They love that
Yeah.
level of interaction in the way that they can parse the data for whatever their purpose is. So we've actually, the deliverable from this product will be a link to the synthesis module, which will have in the actual reporting, I don't know if you've seen the platform, but there's a little, here's your report. We will populate that with, it could be simple text, could be bullets, could be figures, could be tables, again, customized to what you want to see. And then as well as just the existing features that you have. So you have your sunburst diagram. If it is, if there is a meta-analysis component, you'll be able to go in and see your funnel plots and click around there too. So basically the deliverable from this is it's a non-tangible, it's going to be digital access to that synthesis module. And then, like I said, the data is yours, do with it as you wish. So that's what that looks like.
Very cool. Yeah, you're right. We have some questions trickling in here. I should probably try to answer some of them myself. So Hamam Omar says, can you mention some tools or platforms for this process? There is one tool, as far as I'm concerned. There are others. I mean, I'm sure you can go out and you can do a Google search for other tools. I'm not going to mention our competitors because I have no incentive to, but I will share our tool because I think it's pretty good, right? So yeah, our tool is called Nested Knowledge. You can sign up for it here. You can do a free trial of Nested Knowledge. Some of the AI features you do have to pay for before you try them. But if you want pilot access, you can contact me directly, Jeff Johnson. So it's jeff.johnson@nested-knowledge.com. But you can certainly just sign up via the QR code right there, and you can start to get a sense of what the tool is capable of. So we are a systematic literature review and meta-analysis tool. We're a workflow first platform. So you can come in and do all of the stuff that Jody's talking about manually. And then over the past year, well, really since the beginning, we've been layering in machine learning, natural language processing tools on top of the workflow to speed up said workflow and make your life a little bit easier. And of course, in 2024, we've added large language models to do some of the heavier, more customized lifting like Jody's talking about. Of course, there's a massive learning curve, so you should probably reach out to Jody. She's the expert here, and she can kind of help you walk through a rapid review project as well as how to do a full-on systematic review and meta-analysis should your research question require that. We have other questions here. Jody, I want to give you a chance to answer this question. I have my own answer to this question, but I kind of want to give you a chance to answer it first because I think your insights are just as valuable as mine. Tarek asks, how close are we to technology-wise to fully AI-powered systematic literature reviews? What do you think?
We're not, and I don't think it'll ever happen. And I don't think we want it to happen. I mean, you absolutely need that human brain element to responsibly assess, interrogate, and parse the data that's out there, and even weave it together for your purpose, like for exactly what story it is that you want to tell. So I think AI is very powerful. I think it's a tool. It's not going anywhere. It is going to change our way of life. And even in the context of SLRs as we know them will be extinct within maybe a year or two. However, we are never going to fully excuse that human element. I just don't see it happening. And I don't think it'd be responsible either. And I don't think anyone who does, like you said, good science, real science that you can stand behind, you're going to need that human decision-making power at some point in the process.
So my answer is the same, though I would, of course, echo the sentiment that, like it's not good science to say that AI is going to just give you a systematic literature review. That's kind of silly. Basically, what you'd have to do is you'd have to somehow replicate every aspect of human intelligence, which would basically be an emergent property of what we have currently, which is just kind of a fancy word calculator. You know, like the way large language models work under the hood is it's really just a bunch of math to determine what is the most likely next word. Now, that is inherently kind of useful. And so the way that I would answer your question, Tarek, is we are really close to AI-powered systematic literature reviews. And in fact, if you use the Nested Knowledge product, and I can show you how to use it, you'll notice that it does dramatically speed up your process and make your life a lot easier. The way I think about it is, as I think about the user experience of nested knowledge, I want to make systematic literature reviews fun again. If they were ever fun, I don't know. Sometimes I think that there's a lot of drudgery involved, so there's some really fun aspects to it. But I would like to alleviate a lot of the burden of some of the drudgery and allow you to do some of the more fun aspects of systematic literature reviews, which in my mind is having a conversation with Jody. Like you should be talking about study design. You should be talking about it's kind of the outcomes that you want to see, or the data elements that you want to extract from your review, as opposed to doing a ton of really manual screening. Ultimately, to do a systematic literature review, there's always going to be a little bit of a chicken or the egg situation going on here, right? You kind of have to read the literature, in order to get a sense of what's even out there, to get a sense of what questions really can be answered before you can say, okay, I'm going to add any degree of automation at all, or AI augmentation. So if I could answer your question, Tarek, it would be, we're really close. We have fully AI powered systematic literature reviews, but it's not going to be a situation where you are not involved in that process, and that is a good thing. That should not change. You know what I mean? That is it's really kind of key and important that human beings are involved in every step of that process, for all the reasons that Jody mentioned. That's what good science looks like ultimately, right? Cool. Jody, anything else to add? Feel free to, if anybody else is watching, if you want to ask a question, I'd love to hear it. Hit send right now, and we'll answer it. But if you don't have a chance to ask a question, feel free to reach out to Jody after the fact. I'm gonna throw her email up here again. Again, you can go to medlior.com and you can check out all of Medlior's offerings. And yeah, anyway, Jody, anything else before we go?
No, just the last plug that we've developed a tool. It's rapid, it's quick and dirty, but it's also cheap. So if we're coming into the end of the year, if there's budgets that need to be spent and questions you want to start strategizing now for what you plan to do in the next 1 or 2 years, now's the time. Come and speak to us and we will help you.
Awesome. Fascinating use case. Thank you so much, Jody. We'll talk soon. Maybe we'll do another one.
Maybe.